The final question for asking leadership within the organization is going to be a stickler. I see this in organization after organization being a difficult problem to discuss, and that is the full ecosystem of your project agile? Agile programming teams followed by linear bureaucratic deployment is a failure. How many of you out there listening to this are working within organizations where you're able to continuously deliver to production, where there is no human intervention required between the developer submitting the pull request, being approved, and getting all the way to production? How many of you work in that sort of environment where there are no bureaucratic things in between you and production? There may be tests between you and production. It may take time for your product to roll out because it has to go through a set of automated, standardized checks. Perhaps there's compliance things. I do work with a team that makes firmware for pacemakers. And you better believe they have a lot of compliance they have to meet. Their software, after they create their usable working item to ship, needs to run a gauntlet of external tests and validations, but they expect all of them to pass because they've done all the things to ensure that it does. So it's unusual for anything in that story to be a failure. Now, they have to have manual processes, right? A little bit of bureaucracy in their way, but only to protect people's lives. It's the absolute minimum needed to ensure that we protect people's lives. However, for most systems that we work with, we want to be delivering high enough quality to our business that we're able to remove a lot of those traditional bureaucratic points in that story. For example, user acceptance testing. User acceptance testing, if you have user acceptance testing in your business, it's because it's a value center. If your customer insists on doing user acceptance testing when you give them product, it's because it's a value center for them. You give them product and they find problems. Therefore, UAT has added value for them. Why are they finding those problems? They're finding those problems because the quality of the product that you're giving them is not high enough to pass the bar that they're expecting and that they're paying you for. If it was high enough, then their UAT wouldn't find anything and would become a cost center. And then that's a conversation about eliminating cost. If it's never finding an issue with your product, it's of no value to them to do it because your product is high enough quality. You should all be striving to have a high enough quality product that you don't need additional checks and validations. If you need to have something that somebody else wants to see as part of your process, bake it into your definition of done, bake it into the way you build software. So quality is so high, you don't even have to worry about it. You can continuously ship to production. If your answer to any one of these questions, or the answer of your business to any one of these questions is no, we're not doing that, then you would I probably wouldn't consider that you're already in the agile space, right? You're not already agile. You might be working towards it and you might have put in loads of effort, but unless you can mark every single one of these 6 questions as, yes, we do this, this is how things work here, then we're still lacking, we're still trying, we're still working towards being agile. Now, this is just a litmus test dreamed up by the US Department of Defense, but they are probably the least likely place for you to expect something with this high a bar to have come from. And I'm not going to go into a team and work with a team or a company, and if they're not doing these things, then I'm going to say, well, you guys suck. You're not agile because you're not doing this. That's not how we work towards success. But I think it's hugely valuable from the perspective of self-reflection for you all to think about the processes and practices in your organization, and how many of these 6 questions are you able to achieve, and what could you do to make it a little bit easier for the teams, for the people doing the work, to work towards this idea of not being Agile BS.